Hello and welcome to part 2 of the quadrats lesson. Please can you make sure that you are prepared, that you've either got your Word document or your book or your piece of paper and a pen. The first thing I would like you to do is to write your title, which is Quadrats Part 2 Assessed Lesson. Please also write the date and then underline these two things with a ruler. Once you've done that, let's get started. So it says, to practice your field working technique, you will be doing a simulated practical. A simulated practical is an experiment conducted on the computer. So to start with, what I'd like you to do is have a look at this question. It says, what are the advantages and disadvantages of using a simulated practical versus a real life experiment? So I want you to have a little think about what advantages we'll have from doing an experiment on the computer versus doing an experiment outside in the actual place that we want to investigate. So what are the advantages and disadvantages? You can either write this out in sentences or you can do this as a table. It's up to you. So pause the video and please conduct the quick start. Okay, so hopefully you've had a little think about this question. What are the advantages and disadvantages of using a simulated practical versus a real life experiment? Now you might have not done a simulated practical before, but hopefully you've been able to think of some advantages versus a real life experiment, but this is what we are going to look at today. Now be aware that this is an assessed lesson, so please make sure that whatever you do today is nice and neat so that your teachers can mark it for your assessed portion of this topic. So let's get started then. So for the assessed portion of this practical, these are the things that by the end of this lesson you must have completed. You will need to have written a method, draw a suitable table for your results, calculate your estimation. You're then going to have a think about, are your results reliable, which means repeatable, accurate, have you got a true result, and valid, did you conduct a fair test? And then finally, you'll be having a think about this question. Explain how you could improve your fieldwork, include what you think the next step should be in this experiment. So for this practical, what you're going to be doing is you are going to be using quadrats to determine an estimation of the amount of daisies in a field. And like I said before, this is a simulated practical, so this practical is going to be done on the computer. Now, in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to teach you how to get to the practical and how to conduct the practical. It might be that you have to pause this video so you can do it step by step. I think that's probably the easiest way to do this. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to go to the Key Stage 3 Science Resources channel, which you should all be very aware of how to do that now. And it's in the Holy Family Community team. And the first thing you need to do is click on the files. And remember, the files is at the top next to posts. Once you've done that, you don't need to navigate anywhere else because I've put the Focus e-learning link, which is the link that you need, straight on the first page of the Key Stage 3 Science Resources channel in the files, and it looks like this. So all you need to do is you need to click on that link. Once you've done that, it will ask you if you want to download it, and you do want to download it. That's exactly what you want to do. It might look something a little bit like this. This is what it looks like on my computer. So all you need to do is click on this little downloads button. And then usually downloads show up in the top right hand corner of your computer. If that's not the case, then you just need to navigate to your downloads and open the link from there. So like I say, as I'm going through this, you can always pause the video to do this step by step. So once you have downloaded the link and you've navigated to the web page, you'll see lots and lots of little squares. These little squares look a little bit like this, and this is the one that you want. It's the biology required practicals. So you need to click on this one that looks like this. Don't click on any of the others because that will take you to somewhere different. We need to have this one. Once you've clicked on this square, you need to navigate to the field work section. Now this requires you to do two things. Along the left hand side of the screen you'll see boxes that look like this, and the box that you need is this combined science box, and you need to click the little arrow. Once you've clicked the little arrow it will expand so that you've got all of these different practicals, and the practical that we're looking at is this one, which is called field work. So you click on the little arrow and it will take you to a page that looks like this. Now if at this point you've not managed to get to this screen, then unfortunately along the way you've done something a little bit wrong. So what I would do is I would start again, go back to step 1 and work your way back through the steps, because you should manage to get to this screen. Once you've got to this screen, you need to make sure that you are on the random sampling. Now this is the field that we're going to be looking at today. We've got a little tree here and this is the field, and this field is full of daisies, and the whole point of this experiment is to work out how many daisies or an estimate of how many daisies there are in this field. Okay, so we have got our field, but now we need to throw our quadrat. Now the way that we do this is we press the sample button. So as soon as you've got onto this page, what you can do is you can press the sample button and that throws your first quadrat. And the quadrat turns up at the top left hand corner, and that is how many daisies we've got in that section of the field, and it even shows up on the field to show where the quadrat landed. Remember, we're doing this randomly. We're throwing the quadrat randomly into this field, seeing where it lands, and then we're going to count up how many daisies there are in that quadrat. And do be aware that this quadrat is 50 centimeters by 50 centimeters, and that will become important a little bit later on. So once you've got your quadrat in the corner, all you need to do is count them up. So in this quadrat we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 daisies. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 daisies in this quadrat. Now once you've done that, that is your first throw. So what you need to do is you need to get your table, and I suggest it looks something like this, and we can write that into our location 1. And then what you do is you go back to this, you press the sample button again, you count them, and that's location 2, and so on and so forth all the way up to location 10. So we're doing this 10 times. We're counting up how many daisies are in this field, and we're going to sample 10 locations. Okay, so at this point I have talked you through how to get to the simulated practical. I've talked you through how to conduct the simulated practical. Now it is up to you. Now remember that this is an assessed lesson, so this is something that you are going to be assessed on, and this is how this is going to work. So the first thing you will need to do is write yourself a method. Now remember that a method is a set of instructions to enable someone to follow those instructions and then conduct the exact same experiment that you have done. They need to be done in full sentences. After you've done that, or maybe before you've done that, you're going to need to draw yourself a table, and I gave you an example of the table for you to collect your data. You then need to calculate your estimation. Now this estimation is how I showed you what to do last lesson, so you might want to go back to that last lesson and just make sure that you know how you are doing this. Now for this bit I will just draw your attention to the fact that this quadrat is 50 centimeters by 50 centimeters, so that's not 0.5 meters by 0.5 meters. Now last lesson I taught you about how the quadrat size is quite important, so please don't forget to factor that in when you are doing your calculation. After you've done that, you need to have a think about Are your results reliable, accurate and valid? And reliable is when you're able to repeat your results and get the same results, or very similar results at least. Is your experiment accurate? Have you got true results? And are your results valid? So did you conduct a fair test? Now these, remember, are all questions that you need to answer when you are writing your assignment. And finally, this last question. Now this is a blue question, so an apply question. And it says, explain how you could improve your field work. Include what you think your next step should be in this experiment. So what do you think you need to do next? Now remember, when you're writing this, you need to be making sure that you're writing in full sentences, and full sentences that your teachers will be able to read and understand and grade you from. Once you've done that, there's really two routes. If you have written your assignment, your assessment onto Word, you need to make sure that the Word document is uploaded to assignments. If you have done this in your book or on a piece of paper, you need to make sure that your assignment, you've taken a picture of your assignment and you have uploaded that to the assignment which your teacher will have set up for you. The important thing is that this gets back to your teacher so that they can mark it and that they can give you a grade, and that will be an ideal level ladder grade. Now these colours of the questions give you a little bit of an idea of where you're getting your marks from. So these red questions will be identify questions. We've got the yellow method, green explain questions here, and then you've got your reply. And you could maybe even get to a link in this question if you are able to. So what I would like you to do is to pause the video, because there is a little bit left to do. Pause the video and work through the steps. Once you've done that, come back to the video and we will have a look at our plenary. Okay, at this point, hopefully you've been able to conduct your assessment and you have uploaded that to your assignment on Teams, and we're going to have a little look at our success criteria and then have a think about our plenary. So the success criteria for these two lessons were as follows. To identify how to estimate the number of plants from a given sample, to describe the process of using quadrats to estimate a sample of a plant species, to explain the limitations of using quadrats to estimate a sample of a plant species, and to apply data from quadrat sampling to determine if the results are reliable, accurate and valid. And if you've conducted that assignment and you've gone through all the points that I set out before, then those progress targets should have been reached. So let's have a look at our plenary. So it says, one of the potential habitats for shipwreck survivor has many grass plants. Rabbits have been seen eating these plants. And these are the two questions that I would like you to answer in full sentences, either in your book, on your paper, or on a Word document. The first question says, could you use the number of plants in an area to estimate the number of rabbits? So could you do that? If you could figure out how many plants there are in an area, could you then kind of scale that up and think about how many rabbits there are? And if you've said yes or if you've said no, you then need to explain your answer. So why do you think that? Why do you think that you could use that method to estimate how many rabbits there were? Or why do you not think you could use that to estimate how many rabbits there were in a certain area? So pause the video and please have a go at that question. Okay, so hopefully you've had a little think about that question and you've had a write down and an explain of why you think that. That is the end of the lesson. Please make doubly sure that you have uploaded your assignment to Teams, and I will see you on the next lesson. Thank you.